Symposium yesterday and in her address. But before we proceed any further, let's take you to the session.
Thank you very much. To the Acting President of SADC, Honorable Sylvia Isaacs, to the host Speaker of Parliament of the Republic of South Africa, Honorable Thoko Didiza, Your Excellencies, Speakers of the various SADC parliaments who are present with us here today, to the Honorable Minister of Human Settlements of the Republic of South Africa, Honorable Thembi Simelane, to the Honorable Members of Parliament of our host Parliament of the Republic of South Africa, to the Honorable Members and distinguished guests from Southern Africa regional parliaments, the Speaker of the KZN legislature, who has graciously hosted us as a province of KZN, to the Honorable Mayor of the city of eThekwini, who graciously hosted us as well in his city of eThekwini, to the leaders and officials representing various sectors who are partners with us in this seminar, ranging from civil society, business, community, and farmers who will share with us a number of reflections pertaining to this topic that we will be prosecuting today, to partner organizations, officials supporting members of parliaments in our region, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Today marks an important day around the reflection on the theme that brought us here in South Africa as a chosen theme of reflection by SADC Parliament. And as we know, the theme for our conversation today will be a reflection on the impact of climate change on women and youth in our SADC region and the role of parliaments in climate change mitigation and adaptation. As Southern Africa Development Community, we are recognized as one of the most vulnerable to the adverse impact of climate change globally. This is due to the dependence of the region on rain-fed agriculture and challenges with water scarcity and poverty. The SADC region in particular faces intensifying cycles of drought, floods, and extreme weather events. The Southern Africa Development Community convenes here today in this assembly under this important theme because as a region, we are disproportionately affected as the most vulnerable, especially women and young people. So this summit is therefore, this symposium rather, is therefore serving as an important platform for parliamentarians and members of society as partners amongst us to reflect on how legislation, oversight, and policy innovation can safeguard the future of the people of our region. In particular, climate change is not an abstract concept. It is felt daily in the lives of people, in particular amongst women, amongst young people, because women constitute the majority of small farm holders and are primarily responsible for food production and household water and energy collection. We have seen during periods of drought that women must travel longer distances to secure water and firewood, exposing them to heightened risks. Gender inequality coupled with the climate crisis is one of the greatest challenges of our time. It poses threats to way of life, livelihoods, health, safety, and security for women and girls around the world. When disasters strike, women and girls are less able to access relief and assistance, further threatening their livelihoods, well-being, and recovery, and thus creating a vicious cycle of vulnerability for future disasters. The impact is likewise on young people. The youth demographic in our region is substantial, and future of young people is profoundly threatened by climate change, as it has the most direct impact on their livelihoods. Many young people in the region aspire for livelihoods in agriculture, yet climate vulnerability makes this sector increasingly unreliable, leading to underemployment and disillusionment. Children and young people are more susceptible to climate change, such as malnutrition and waterborne diseases. The impact is also disproportionate on education in terms of children being unable to attend classes. So therefore, the question of vulnerability is very important, that we can't exclude young people in the decision-making process of climate change. Hence, SADC has a particular focus on young people. On regional framework for climate change, indeed, SADC has established a number of interventions to coordinate how we respond in a manner that is well coordinated as a region. As SADC, there's a policy paper on climate change that provides a regional foundation for climate action, recognizing the impacts of human-caused climate change. It summarizes significant climate change risks, which today's coordination and reflection would serve as a deepening platform for that. We also have SADC gender policy that further underscores the need for specific interventions to address gender-based vulnerabilities. I would like to conclude, honorable members, distinguished guests, and esteemed speakers of our region, Honorable Minister, Secretary General of SADC, by indicating today's symposium challenges all of us to look at ways of strengthening legislative and budgetary oversight, and how, as lawmakers in our region, you would assist in monitoring whether national policies do align with regional strategies, such as SADC Climate Change Strategy Action Plan, as well as other global agreements. A number of countries, encouragingly, in our region have already adopted measures that demonstrate the importance of parliamentary oversight. For example, Malawi, Mozambique, and Zimbabwe, amongst others, have introduced mandatory parliamentary reporting following the impacts of Cyclone Idai, enabling legislators to assess the effectiveness of disaster financing and response system. Namibia and South Africa, for example, have also strengthened collaboration between their environment and finance committees to improve oversight on climate finance flows, to make sure that there's effective instruments supporting domestic mitigation and adaptation priorities. This is a profound environmental challenge that we all face, and this symposium brings all of us together to make sure that the call for greater regional cooperation through SADC-PF indeed serves as a platform to harmonize our efforts to enact gender-sensitive and youth-inclusive legislation in SADC. So that's the context, honorable delegates, esteemed speakers, and distinguished guests, that our reflection today will be guided along those contextual policy frameworks. Without further ado, I would like to call on the acting president of SADC region, Honorable Isaacs, to take over the program and do the opening remarks.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, SDP. Honorable members, I don't think you will blame me if I sit where I am and make the opening remarks from here. Someone have decided to put a very high step here, and I don't know how I will do it to get down there. But before we start with the salutations, today we are commemorating, I think, a day of remembrance that is very close to our hearts, because of the fact that there is no one of us that are not affected by the issue of HIV and AIDS. So we are commemorating World AIDS Day, and I've thought what we can do also to show that we are participating with the rest of the world in the commemoration of this specific, very important occasion. So I think we can then stand and observe a moment of silence in remembrance of those that went before us. May they find eternal peace. Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you very much. If we were not here today, we would be part of some commemoration somewhere in commemorating those that went before us and also those that are infected and affected by HIV and AIDS. Program Director, once again, thank you very much. I just want to give due recognition and do the necessary protocol. Honorable Thokozile Didiza, MP Speaker of the National Assembly of the Republic of South Africa and the host Speaker of the 58th Plenary Assembly, distinguished speakers of SADC national parliaments and heads of delegations, Ms. Tembi Semelane, the MP, Minister of Human Settlements of the Republic of South Africa, honorable members of parliaments from SADC member states, Her Excellency Ms. Guema Sekoma, Secretary General of the SADC Parliamentary Forum, Mr. Clinton Heyman, the Acting DG of Land Reform and Rural Development, Mr. M. Kekana, Maisela Kekana, the Deputy Director General of Climate Change and Air Quality Management, Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment, Mr. S. Lee from Toyota South Africa, Dr. Kunene from Human Settlements Directorate, Mr. Zigodi, the President of Abahlali Basemjondo. We know, we heard a lot of Abahlali Basemjondo, Mr. Dlala, Agroecology Directorate, and as well as our esteemed delegates and observers. Ladies and gentlemen, I went through them. Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed an honor for me to address this distinguished gathering at this very important symposium, an engagement that reflects the forum's continued and steadfast commitment to tackling a challenge that has consistently been on the agenda of successive plenary assemblies. Since the 45th Plenary Assembly session held in Maputo, Mozambique in 2019, the SADC-PF has continually elevated and interrogated the far-reaching impacts of climate change. That landmark 45th Plenary Assembly laid the foundation with its theme then, climate change, mitigation and adaptation, the role of parliaments towards implementing the Paris Declaration and the Katowice Roadmap. Close quote. The conversation deepened at the 51st plenary in Lilongwe, Malawi in 2022, which advanced the discourse by focusing on energy efficiency, sustainability, and self-sufficiency. This momentum continued during the 52nd plenary hosted virtually by the Parliament of the DRC in 2022, which emphasized strengthening resilience in nutrition and food security, and then the 53rd plenary in Arusha, United Republic of Tanzania 2023, which highlighted the modernization of agriculture to confront food insecurity and youth unemployment in a climate-impacted region. The 54th Plenary Assembly in Port Louis, Mauritius, in 2023 reinforced the imperative of coordinated disaster risk reduction and recovery planning, while the 55th Plenary Assembly in Luanda, Angola, in 2024 examined the centrality of renewable energy policies and the creation of a unified regional energy market and amid mounting climate pressures. This sustained and deliberate reflection on climate-related challenges across countries, sectors and themes has demonstrated the forum's deepening commitment to climate governance. It culminated in the landmark resolution of the 57th Plenary Assembly in Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe, to develop the SADC Model Law on Climate Change an instrument conceived to harmonize national legal frameworks, strengthen adaptive capacity, promote climate-responsive budgeting, embed early warning and mitigation mechanisms, and advance climate-resilient development across all member parliaments. Thus, the theme of this 58th Plenary Assembly builds directly upon this legacy, reaffirming the centrality of parliamentary leadership in advancing climate adaptation, resilience, and long-term climate justice across the SADC region through informed, coordinated, and robust parliamentary action. At a time when our region is navigating unprecedented change and escalating demands, this symposium gives us the space to pause, reflect, and most importantly, chart a purposeful, actionable path forward. I sincerely appreciate your presence and your unwavering commitment to this endeavor, framed under the timely and compelling theme, the impact of climate change on women and youth in the SADC region, and the role of parliaments in climate change mitigation and adaptation, and close quote. From the outset, I must acknowledge that we gather today in a city edged by climate trauma. The memories of the Durban Easter floods and the more recent devastation across KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape are not isolated events. They are chapters in a rapidly escalating regional emergency. Each disaster is a reminder that the climate crisis is neither abstract nor distant. It is unfolding in real time, reshaping lives, livelihoods, and landscapes across our region. You may also wish to know that in 2024, the global average temperature rose to 1.55 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, a stark reminder that the climate emergency is no longer a distant threat, but a lived reality. Current projections indicate that this will be our new normal by 2029. And even more concerning, science tells us that even if every nation were to meet its existing climate pledges fully, the world would still be on course for a catastrophic warming of 2.5 to 3.1 degrees Celsius. But for us in Southern Africa, this crisis is not merely a statistic on a graph. It is a funeral in a village struck by a flash flood. It is a failed harvest on land that once sustained generations. It is a clinic without medicine after a cyclone has swept away roads and bridges. It is human, it is immediate, and unbearably costly. And amid this unfolding crisis, a brutal injustice becomes clear. Climate change is one of the most significant causes of inequality today. It inflicts its worst damage on those who bear the least responsibility, that is women, youth, and rural communities. They are the ones who suffer first, who suffer most, and take the longest to recover. Furthermore, it is common cause that when drought strikes, it is the woman who must walk even further in search of water, and the girls who is pulled out of school to help the family cope. When Cyclone Idai and Cyclone Freddy tore through our coast, it was the sexual and reproductive health of women that suffered most gravely, a reality our forum has rightly and consistently addressed in our deliberations across successive plenary assembly sessions. And when crops fail, it is a young person whose dream of a future in agriculture withers to dust. Honorable members, I must also emphasize that our region is by no means, and I'm sorry, is by no means deficient in systems and frameworks designed to guard against the ravages of climate change. We have the frameworks. We have the nationally determined contributions. We have the national adaptation plans, yet we are failing the ultimate test, the test of implementation. The bridge between our global and regional commitments and the lived protection of our people is crumbling, weakened by a massive adaptation finance gap, fragile legislative frameworks, and inadequate integration of climate priorities into our national budgets. This, honorable members, is a chasm we are mandated to fill, This is both our constitutional duty and our moral imperative. Therefore, as we deliberate, let us remain mindful that we are not here as spectators. We are the lawmakers, the custodians of public finance, and the overseers of executive action. Critically, we are the central link that can turn aspiration into law and policy into tangible resilience. I therefore submit that the question this symposium must respond to is not if we should act, but whether we have the courage to wield our unique parliamentary powers with the urgency this crisis demands. We must decide, will we be remembered for empty resolutions or as a parliament that truly inspired a binding regional charter on climate for genuine climate action? Will we keep approving budgets blind to climate risk? Or will we champion climate smart ones that build resilience? Will we watch governments fail in silos? Or will we press for strong commitments or committees that promote accountability? And will we remain passive in the face of suffering? Or will we marshal our diplomacy to unlock the climate finances our survival requires? In the end, the question that transcends all policy is a question of legacy. When the history of this climate crisis is written, what will it say about us? Will it record silence and inaction? Or will it tell the story of leaders in Southern Africa who saw the rising tide and had the courage to build the wall? I submit my answer for posterity. Our role is to build a new architecture of resilience, anchored on robust laws, smart finances, and unflinching regional solidarity. To translate this vision from aspiration to reality, we must master the art of implementation. That means enshrining a just transition for the vulnerable in our legislation. It means guaranteeing that every dollar of climate finance reaches the front lines with absolute transparency. Maybe I should have said every rupee or something else. It means harmonizing our national frameworks with the AU climate strategy so that our regional commitments carry true binding force. This is the bridge between aspiration and action. This is the measure of our leadership. And this is the moment when history will decide whether we were passive witnesses or the generation that rose, united and unafraid, to meet the greatest challenge of our time. As I conclude, I draw on the wisdom of the late great son of this country, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who reminded us, and I quote, 25 years ago, people could be excused for not knowing much or doing much about climate change. Today, we have no excuse, close quote. His words challenge every one of us, government, parliament, private sector, development partners, and communities alike, to rise above complacency and match our knowledge with bold, decisive action. Therefore, let us recommit ourselves to purposeful climate financing, strengthened accountability, and people-centered adaptation and mitigation strategies. Let us choose partnership over isolation. Let us choose foresight over reaction. Let us choose courage over hesitation. And if we act together and act decisively, we will not only protect our environment, we will unlock the promise of a greater, a greener, more prosperous SADC region. Let history say, we had the courage to act. With these remarks, it is my honor to declare this symposium open, and I wish all of us fruitful deliberations. Kia leboga. Thank you. Obrigado. Merci. Baie dankie.
Thank you very much, Madam Acting President. We are now about to start the reflections by partner organizations. Distinguished speakers, you would notice that on the floor of the program, the first three components would reflect the perspective of South African government at the level of the Ministry for Human Settlement, followed by the Department for Land Reform, and thirdly, the Department for Environment and Fisheries. So we would like to take those three inputs and after that have a reflection so that we can consolidate much more reflection on one segment in our three spheres setup of our government. And at the level of the city of eThekwini, I would like to make one slight amendment to the speaker that is highlighted there. Members will see that the presenter was Mr. V. Ngubane from the disaster unit. Kindly note that Dr. Rob Modley would take that input on behalf of the city. Without further ado, the three inputs as shall be made, they will be made in that order from Minister and Land Reform, as well as disaster. Then thereafter, the acting president of SADC will then preside over the interactions of the input of the three panelists. And we will then take Q&As as guided by the panel coordinator, acting president of SADC. So without further ado, I would like to invite the Honorable Minister to make her reflections on the topic. Either here, Minister, or that side.
Thank you very much, Program Director. I was taking cue from the Acting President, Honorable Sylvia Isaacs, that I will take my input and comment, and SG decisively gave direction. Let me also appreciate the Honorable Speaker of our National Assembly in the Republic of South Africa, Honorable Togo Didiza, our distinguished speakers from SADC national parliaments and the heads of delegations. Appreciate our Speaker of KwaZulu-Natal Legislature, Ms. Nontombeko Boyce, who's our host for the good symposium that we are holding. Honorable members of Parliament from SADC member states, Her Excellency SG of our SADC Parliamentary Forum, representative from our government departments, in particular, the Change and Air Quality Management from the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, Mr. Moodley from Toyota Corporate South Africa, Mr. Zigote, President of Abahlali Basemjondolo, our Agroecology Department and Directorate, Mr. Dladla, and all the esteemed delegates and guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my great honor to address this symposium of the 58th session of SADC Parliamentary Forum, gathered under the theme that could not be more urgent, more relevant, timely, and more defining for our collective future. We meet at a time where our region is experiencing climate impact of unprecedented scale. Climate change is no longer a distant environmental concern, but it is a developmental crisis. It is a human settlement crisis. It is an infrastructure crisis. It is also a socio-economic and a governance crisis, and this is across the Southern African development community.